Nice title. 7 Excellences of Chanting the Holy Name, which is a nice title for Shikshastaka verse number 1. Because if you count them, there's 7 items described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for those of you that might be a little newer. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, who appeared in the mood of Srimati Radharani and for the purpose of establishing the Yuga Dharma, which is the chanting of the holy name, which our festival is all about. So we're honoring Lord Chaitanya first. And he gave many teachings, but he didn't write them down. He gave teachings which he then empowered his students or his disciples or his followers to write. But he only wrote 8 verses that are known, at least. Ashtaka, Shiksha, Ashtaka, 6 instructions. And the first of the 6 instructions is our topic for this evening. So many of you are familiar with this first verse. We're going to go through each of the 7 a little bit slowly. So you can say the verse with me if you like. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vidharanam vidyavadho jivanam anandam bodhivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatma snapanam pramvijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So I didn't put the translation here. We're going to go through one by one. So you see the first line, Cheta Darpana Marjanam. Cheta, Darpana, Marjanam. Darpana means mirror, and Cheta can mean many things, but in this case it's translated as the heart, or of the heart. So the mirror of the heart is cleansed, or consciousness, or the mirror of the heart is cleansed. So here's a nice lady, sort of very old, the 1950s, advertisement illustrating how you can get this nice product and clean your dirty mirror. And she looks happy, and the mirror cleanser looks like it works. So Cheta, the heart, the mind, or materially contaminated consciousness, Cheta Darpana Marjanam, the mirror of the mind or heart or consciousness. And the final stanza, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So the translation starts with the final line. All glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart or mind or consciousness of all the dust accumulated for years. The painting, many of you recognize, this is the Gundicha Marjana, the cleansing of the Gundicha temple. The activity that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally led was the cleansing of the temple, the place where Jagannath would go for 1 week after leaving the temple and enter the Gundicha temple, but to make it a fit place, an inviting place, a suitable place, it was made very, very clean, and then after making it very clean, they made it very clean again, and then after making it clean, they made it very clean again. Squeaky clean. And the idea, very similar idea to Krishna's appearance, When Krishna made his appearance in the prison house of Kamsa, the first place of his appearance was in the mind of Vasudeva. He appeared in the mind of Vasudeva because the mind of Vasudeva was completely pure, making it inviting place for Krishna to appear. So if we want Krishna to appear in our mind, we need to make the mind, or Chaita, or solid consciousness, the heart, the mirror of the heart, very clean. And the chanting of the holy name, that's the first action, according to Shikshastaka. The chanting of Krishna's name is a purifying agent that cleanses our hearts of envy. The commentary describes at the very root of our descent to this material world, and then other bad qualities that follow behind the root quality, the envy. The nice painting is the living entity turning its back on Krishna in the spiritual world and entering into that bubbly looking thing that's the cloud of the material energy, or the Mahatattva. And in the Mahatattva, there's Mahavishnu and so forth. The whole of material existence is what the living entity enters into when leaving Krishna behind. And so one might say, well, gosh, that's pretty strident, isn't it, to say every living entity that comes here has envy? Is it really true? It's really true. Here's what Krishna says. Icha dvesha samutena dvandva mohena bharata sarvabhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. So I put in color codes. The little pink color doesn't show up so well. Icha dvesha, desire and hate. You can say envy or you can say hate. It's pretty close. Icha and dvesha. So all living entities are born into delusion. Dvandva mohena. Dvandva means duality. Mohena means bewildered. The mind becomes bewildered. Bewildered by dualities. Born into delusion. So the catalyst is this desire and hate. So it's one side and the other side. I desire to enjoy separately from Krishna, and he who I'm naturally meant to be enjoyed by and in the servant of, I have some dvesha towards that person and towards that position. So every living entity, without exception, you say it forwards or backwards, every living entity has that disposition, dvesha, or envy. And the root cause is envy. And so how to get rid of the root cause? If you get rid of the root cause, you have a good chance of dealing with the rest. But the root cause is the root cause, envy, dvesha. And the consequence of that dvesha is the dirty mirror. So the first line, the first of the excellence is the heart becomes cleansed. So there's another picture. This nice lady, she's got a spray bottle, and out of the spray bottle is coming the Hare Krishna mantra. A little different than the other lady from the 1950s. And the cleansing agent is the holy name. So when the holy name appears, by hearing it and or by chanting it or hearing and chanting it, something happens. Even insects or averse people, or all kinds of living entities, different bodies and different mentalities and different situations. It just acts. It's a powerful agent, cleansing agent. And and immediately it acts on the platform of the heart. There's a very nice description in Vishnu Dharmottara Purana, one of the secondary Puranas, but there's this discussion. Jiva Goswami mentions this section of Vishnu Dharmottara Purana in his Sandarbhas, in Bhakti Sandarbha. So there's a Kshatriya Bandhu, many sins. A Brahmana recommended atonement. Kshatriya Bandhu said, I can't, because my mind is too restless and fickle. Give me something that I can do, using my body and my words. And he said, chant. If you cannot do all of this, I will tell you something else, which is easy, if you will do what I say. O son, whether in hunger, thirst, or falling down, whether standing up or lying down, departing or coming, sing the name of Govinda. Some of you will have already quite familiar with who Govinda Das is. He's joining us from his travels in America, and he's a really nice kirtan singer, along with many other nice kirtan singers. And with just the name Govinda, hearing and calling the name Govinda, is sufficient to purify a fallen Kshatriya Bandhu, the worst of sins, so many sins you can't count them all, etc. It's Chaitadarpana Marjanam. It's a very powerful cleansing agent. There's a nice section. Many of you know this nice section. This is Ajamila, and he's about to be taken by the agents of Yamaraj, those freaky looking guys. That's the agents of Yamaraj. And because he calls Narayana, intending to call his son, who he named Narayana because before he became a fallen man, he was a Brahmana. He called his son, so it's indirect, or it's Abbas chanting, the shadow of the name. The Vishnu Dutas came and stopped them. They looked pretty surprised. Whoever stops death? Whoever stops death? Who are you guys? By following the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or undergoing atonement, sinful men do not become as purified as by chanting once the holy name of the Lord Hari. So we're going to be saying the holy name many times. So we're really crossing our fingers. There'll be a lot of purification going on during this festival. Not just crossing our fingers, relying on the fact that purification. So we're still on this Chaita Darpana Marjanam. So as that matures, as that mirror of the mind matures, something else happens. There's a next step, and there's a next step, and there's a next step. The next step is that the identification with the covering, this body covering of the soul, slackens. And the consequence of identification with the body is fear. There's a nice verse, among many nice verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which says, bhayam, which means fear, dutiyam abhiniveshitak syat. So fear, syat, arises when one becomes absorbed in the conception of duality. Dvitiya abhinivesh. Dvitiya abhinivesh. When one becomes absorbed in the bodily conception of life, then fear arises. So there she is, the lady that looks afraid. Here's the translation. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. That's this mind that's covered. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord, just like that nice illustration of the living entity leaving the spiritual world and entering into the realm of Maya, or the Mahatattva, the material energy. This bewildering, fearful condition is effected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, don't be in Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and his very life and soul. So, along with cleansing comes the next stage, and one of the next stages is rising above the bodily conception, and as one rises above the bodily conception, then fear diminishes. The tendency to be afraid of illusion or apparitions that come from the illusory energy. Qualities like having no fear are produced by chanting the name, but are not parts of the cultivation of the name. This is teaching from our acharyas. We'll say it again so it's clear. Qualities like having no fear are produced by the chanting of the name, but are not parts of the cultivation of the name. Meaning, stay focused on the name as far as you can, rather than stay cultivating corollary byproducts of the chanting of the name. They come, I use the expression, there's the horse and there's the cart. And make sure you put the horse in front of the cart, not the other way around. And that is, the primary activities of bhakti have the effect of awakening good qualities and the diminishing of unwanted qualities. But that's not the purpose. The purpose is immersion in the holy name. I hope it's clear. Bhakti itself does not depend on other elements, and so much more so for the holy name. So the other elements, like, just take this one, or any other one, the elements like fearlessness. Supposing one is fearful. I mean, Ajamila was fearful, and he screamed, Narayan. Not calling Lord Narayan, calling his son, he screamed. He was fearful. But something happened. The Supreme Lord heard, sent Vishnu Dutas to protect him. Now, exactly how it's going to happen in our life may look a little different than it looked like in Ajamila's life, but the principle is secondary qualities follow behind the primary activities of bhakti. And as it further matures, keep going, besides covering of the mind and identification with the body, and as they are surpassed, then awakening of our more mature stage of understanding one's spiritual identity. One has to be eligible for that. But there's a nice painting here. This is Brihat Bhagavatamrita, where this young village boy in Vrindavan receives mantra, and he chants the name, the Gopal mantra, and slowly he becomes purified, and eventually he makes it to Goloka Vrindavan, and Krishna sees him, and Krishna is very happy. I was waiting for you so many lifetimes. I thought, maybe he'll come in this lifetime, but you didn't come. And then the next lifetime, maybe in that lifetime, but you didn't come. And so many lifetimes passed, you didn't come, but you're here. Please never leave. And Gopakumar is crying, and Krishna is crying, and the residents of Vrindavan are very happy to see the reunion of the soul that had become distracted and again became fixed by the chanting of his Gopal mantra. So Chaitadarpana Marjanam, and then excellence number 2. So there's 7 of them. I'm going to try to move quickly. It's really easy to spend a lot of time on any one of these. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. So Agni, everybody knows. Agni means fire. And Maha means great fire. And Dava means blazing. Mahadavagni, forest fire of material existence. Bhava. There's 2 words. Prabhupada, there's more than 2 words, but there's 2 words. There's bhava and there's bhava. And they're quite different. Bhava means ecstasy, and bhava means the opposite. Material existence. Bhava, the blazing fire of material existence, nirvapanam. So after the cleansing of the mirror of the mind, or the heart, or contaminated consciousness, then the blazing fire of material existence is extinguished. As you know, there's a very nice pastime. In Krishna's Leela in Vrindavan, twice, Krishna extinguishes big, blazing forest fire. You know about that pastime? Blazing twice. And the cowherd boys are, help! So Krishna says, close your eyes. You're in for a big surprise. They close their eyes and inhales the fire, and all the fire is extinguished. And Krishna's body isn't burned because his body is transcendental. So souls aren't burned, and Krishna's body isn't burned. He, Krishna, through the agency of his name, extinguishes the fire of conditional life, or repeated birth and death. As it purifies the heart, Krishna's name also protects sincere chanters from any further contamination from the worldly energy and those affected by it. So there's other verses that say the same thing. The material existence burns like fire. Kamarupena, this eternal enemy in the form of lust, it burns like fire and is never satisfied. Dushparena analena cha. That's material existence, and one's experience of that material existence gradually becomes extinguished. You know, I don't know if anybody has been around a forest fire. Even if you go within a few miles of a forest fire, you feel the heat. What to speak of the rest, you're getting closer and closer. So forest fires are very dangerous. Forest fires are very dangerous. Now I was supposed to bring a document with me, but I didn't bring it with me. These verses from Bhagavad Gita, they're combined together. Did you have a Bhagavad Gita? Is there a Bhagavad Gita in the temple room somewhere? Could you find the verse if you find the Bhagavad Gita? It's 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is describing Dhyan Yoga. So it's a meditation process. And in simple terms, what the verse is saying is, by the process of bringing one's attention to Krishna, of course, the method in chapter 6 is the meditation method or the Ashtanga Yoga method. But as one's mind goes to the Supreme, then the material existence shrinks, it subsides, and eventually, the verse is describing it, attaining the stage of samadhi. It takes a while to get to samadhi. But prior to samadhi, there's stages, and chanting also, Mahadavagni, the blazing fire of material existence, also progresses in stages. So the verse is speaking of trance. But in the purport, Prabhupada discusses the stages before trance, and then comes trance. So the stage of the mind being, as to the degree that you chant, and the mind stays with the sound vibration of the mantra, then the disturbances around and within diminish. The blazing fire of material existence, of conditional life, that which causes repeated birth and death, the hankering for separate enjoyment that brought one, the icha, part of icha and dvesha, that subsides. Now, there's a Buddhist, maybe Buddha himself, but the intention of Buddhism is similar, because the intention of Buddhism is to decrease and eventually eliminate suffering. That's the intention. And keeping it short, because I could easily go off on this one. It's not sufficient just to withdraw the mind from sense objects. Why is it not sufficient? It can bring down the blazing fire. Buddhists like that process because the suffering is caused by this desire, icha, desire for separate enjoyment. So just wind it down, anesthetize it. And you're not suffering anymore. The problem is, as soon as that meditation process subsides, the mind still has this root cause tendency to want to enjoy. It awakens. It's not extinguished. So the teaching here, in relation to the holy name, is it extinguishes. And once that root cause is extinguished, what's left? It's not void, as it is the teaching in the process of Buddhism, but what's left is who we really are, which is nice. And who we are is we have desire, but in relation to Krishna, we have activities in relation to Krishna. Everything in relation to Krishna. So that's the purifying process that goes along with the chanting of the holy name. Some of you like reading Prabhupada's book, so I thought I would include some message from the Srimad Bhagavatam. There was a point in time where a king wanted to perform an ashramita yajna, and Indra kidnapped the horse, and he took the horse into a remote place towards the very bottom of the universe, where Lord Kapila is still residing. He couldn't find the horse, and so many things happened. So his sons went to search for the horse, and there you see Kapila Dev. When they saw the horse, and they thought, whoever this fellow is, he's the one that stole the sacrificial horse. So they went to go attack him, kill him. And there's different descriptions. The painting shows, by the glance of Kapila, the bodies of the 60,000 sons of Sagara burned to ashes. But it wasn't his eyes had flames, but their own sinful tendency burned their bodies into ashes. So, sinful tendency, that's this icha, this the blazing fire of material existence, can be extinguished. So the two, Chetadarpana marginam, bhavamaha davagni nirvapana, the root cause of our material existence can be completely changed simply from chanting. Here's a nice teaching. This is from the 12th canto Bhagavatam. Sutta Goswami is the speaker. This is the last canto. It's the last chapter of the last canto. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. So it's a very different process, a very natural process, a very sublime process, chanting, so that the cause of material existence is extinguished. And when that cause of material existence is extinguished, something is left. And the something that's left is who we really are. It's part of the process. Along with chanting, we're appealing to Krishna. We're going to hear about this tomorrow morning. We're making an appeal to Krishna to be engaged in his service through the sound vibration itself. So the service tendency is awakened, the covering is removed. It's self-realization. Here's Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, 6th canto. Other processes cannot be successful because even after following such methods, one takes to fruitive activities again, unable to control his mind, which is contaminated by the base qualities of material nature. That is to say, desire is of the soul. Desire for happiness is of the soul. Try to anesthetize the desire for happiness. When anesthesia wears off, the desire for happiness is there. And the lower modes of nature are also active upon that soul. So what to do? What's a nice fellow or lady to do? Well, you cleanse the covering tendency, but also lift the consciousness above the modes of nature permanently by taking shelter in the holy name. Here's a nice image I like. This is the downpouring of rain that extinguishes the blazing fire of material existence. Prabhupada would often say, maybe you've heard in his recorded lectures, fire brigades can't put out a forest fire. Buckets and hoses and all the fire engines can't put out a forest fire. There's one thing that can put out a forest fire. Torrents of rain. They can extinguish the forest fire. So the chanting of the holy name acts like that. The blazing fire of material existence is extinguished. This is a nice verse from Lord Brahma's prayers to Krishna, found in Sri Brahma Samhita. Karmani nirdhita kintu cha bhakti bhajam. This is Brahma's prayers to Krishna, where Govinda minimizes or nullifies the reactionary influences of the devotee's past deeds. Same message, Bhakti Bhajam. Commentary says, Bhakti Siddhanta's commentary says, this Bhakti Bhajam is chanting and all the other forms of Bhagavad Dharma. The tip of the spear is the chanting, the shaft of the spear is all the other processes of bhakti. And we begin with the chanting of the holy name, particularly for this age. And by doing so, Bhavamaha Davagni Nirvapanam. And the forest fire material existence is extinguished, and according to Jiva Goswami in his Bhakti Sandarbha, the awakening of faith in the holy name and the process of devotional service transpires. almost finished with the second excellence. By performance of kirtan, one attains faith in the Lord far greater than the faith attained by meditation or any other spiritual practice. By meditation performed in Satya Yuga, one does not attain the same deep faith in the Supreme Lord. This is from Scripture. Skanda Purana, Bhakti Sandarbha quotes, in Kali Yuga, the great devotees worship the Lord by performing kirtan. And he comments, these words of Skanda Purana glorify the performance of kirtan, which brings great faith in the Supreme Lord, who is very merciful to the fallen souls. And there's no spiritual path better. Whew. That's only 2 of 7. Where do we go from here? Excellence number 3. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. So, Chandrika, everyone knows. Chandrika is a brand of soap, right? No, it means, it is, but it means moonshine, Chandrika. And Kairava is the white lotus. Shreya is good fortune. Shreya and prayas. Ultimate benefit. Ultimate Shreya Uttama. And Vitaranam, it spreads. So, as Chetadarpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya, the white lotus of good fortune, is expanded. Now these are initial, because very shortly we're going to hear, these first 3 verses are dealing with the initial sadhana effects, progressive sadhana effects. The white lotus of good fortune blossoms, and it's likened to the rays of the benediction moon. So at night, lotuses close because the sun is gone, but the brilliance of the benedicting rays of the chanting of the holy name is like it opens the petals of the lotus again, the lotus of good fortune, by the holy name. It's a metaphor. It's a very nice poetic metaphor. Expands the petals of the white lotus. How is it that the moon, not the lotus, has become the source of benediction? Good question. The moon, not the lotus. So lotuses are often symbols, poetic symbols, or worldly symbols of auspiciousness and good fortune and peace and tranquility and nice things. So according to this third excellence of the chanting of the holy name, the Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. This is Kirtan at night in Navadvip. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in ecstasy. Lord Nityananda is in ecstasy. Advaita Acharya is in ecstasy. The Kirtaniers are in ecstasy. And it's spreading the benediction moon, the rays of the benediction moon. Chanting awakens Shreyas. According to this commentary, pure devotion to Krishna. The soul's dormant propensity to serve the Lord with love. And further chanting revives loving devotion, which qualifies one for the greatest good fortune, Krishna's association. That's the expanding the white lotus of good fortune in this dark night in the age of Kali. So the fire has been extinguished. The mirror of consciousness has been cleansed. And now this next step, Shreya Kaiva Chandrika Vidharanam. This word Shreya also appears in Brahma's prayers, in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, where Lord Brahma says to Krishna in his prayers, Shreya Shritim Bhaktim, Shreya Shritim Bhaktim. Devotional service to you is the best path for self-realization. And this devotional service begins with the tip of the spear. This beginning, the shaft of the spear, the other 8 processes of bhakti follow behind the tip. So we begin, and then continue and continue, continue and continue with chanting, along with other forms or expressions of devotional service. I like scriptural reference. I hope you do too. There's a nice one from Katha Upanishad. Katha Upanishad is a conversation between Yamaraj, of all people, and Nachiketa. So Nachiketa is a young student, and he has the good opportunity to ask Yamaraj questions about perfection. It's Upanishadic language, but the same principles are taught in the Upanishads. There's Shreyascha Prayascha Manushyam Etas. That's how the verse begins. The wise reject prayas and choose instead the Shreyas, that which is permanently beneficial. The foolish choose the prayas with its resultant conceptions of gain and the acquisition of fleeting pleasure. So, Shreya Kairava Chandrika, the ultimate benefit is awakened very naturally. The petals of the lotus are expanded. The white lotus of good fortune is expanded by the chanting of the holy name. This ultimate benefit of the living entity. So these first 3 are dealing with the initial stages, or the anartha nivritti stage of bhakti. Gosh, I think I'm going to try to do too much in this 1.5 hours. What to do? I get too excited. I can't keep it simple and short. Here we go. These Excellence 4 is starting another stage of bhakti. It's introducing another stage of bhakti, because the first 3, many of you are familiar with the stages of bhakti, starting with Shraddha up to Prema. And from Shraddha, Sadhusanga, Bhajana Kriya, then Anartha Nivritti. So already first 3 have been passed, and Lord Chaitanya is speaking about the chanting. So the Anartha Nivritti process has been described in those first 3 chapters. The Anartha Nivritti process, Anartha Nivritti, eradication of unwanted things, is being described in those first 3 verses. And now this is going to the next stage, which comes after Anartha Nivritti. One may become fixed, nishtha, in the stage of bhakti, where anartha may still linger, but they're not in the same effect, they're not having the same effect, because bhakti has become sufficiently strong. So, vidya vadhu jivanam. Vadhu, we'll see different meanings of vadhu. Vadhu is sometimes wife, vadhu is sometimes bride. So this chanting of the holy name is the life of the wife of transcendental experience. I'm going to go faster. Nishtha is chanting enriched with knowledge of the science of devotional service, mind and intelligence fixed to the degree where one has become steady. And that's so intelligence is nourished by the knowledge that awakens, naturally awakens, as one's consciousness becomes purified. There's so easy to go to. So there's a nice reference in Canto 1, Chapter 2 of Bhagavatam. Very, very essential verse, elementary, foundational verse, that through the process of bhakti, nicely performed, knowledge and detachment arise causelessly. Vasudevi Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Praryojataha, Janayati Ashu, Vairagyam Jnanam Cha, Yadahaitakam. Through devotional service, knowledge and detachment arise. That's what this is saying. Vidyavatu Jivanam. As the chanting matures, as one's life in devotional service matures, knowledge awakens. Causelessly. In of itself, the association with Krishna results in that. And then, very quickly, the other verses in Shikshastakam, the other sections of this first verse, are going to take us to higher stages, ruchi, asakti, etc., attachment to Krishna. Same understanding, no surprise. Same understanding is presented in the 4th canto Bhagavatam. Some of you like reading Prabhupada's books. I like reading Prabhupada's books. I like Bhagavatam especially. And in the 4th canto, there's a discussion between Narada Muni, who's pictured on the right, and a nice king who really has the greatest respect for Narada, so Narada gives him transcendental knowledge. Sa vidya tanmatir yaya. Our education should be such that we can become elevated to Krishna consciousness. The real tanmatir, that one's consciousness or mind becomes absorbed in Krishna, that's the real sign of education. Here's the prostitute who is relieved from her bad profession by Haridas Thakur simply by hearing his chanting. Devotional service focused exclusively on increasing our attachment to Krishna is the goal of education as well as the force that drives us forward. So we're going to be spending a lot of time over this holiday season with kirtan, japa, and topics in relation to both. The idea, the force behind all of this is to make Krishna our goal more firmly. It's our goal, or otherwise we're off doing something else. Especially tomorrow, 4th of July, like the announcements were made. People are going to be off doing all kinds of things out there. Then we're here for a purpose. Let our attachment to Krishna grow. And that attachment to Krishna, the message here is, that's the goal of education. I mean, looking around the room, many of you have good education, college degrees, etc., etc., etc. The real fruit or goal of education is attachment to Krishna. Chant, along with everything else that you do that make up your busy lives. And this is the real goal of education. There she is, there's the bride. She is the young bride of transcendental knowledge. That's attachment to Krishna. Vidya Bhatu Jivanam. Same understanding. This is Shukadeva Goswami in the right side over here. He's the Atmarama verse is a very celebrated verse. He's not spoken by him. Sutta Goswami is the speaker. All different varieties of Atmaramas, those who take pleasure in the Atma, especially those established on the path of self-realization, though freed from all kinds of material bondage, desire to render unalloyed devotional service, saying the same thing. The mature fruit of transcendental knowledge is wanting to be engaged in loving service to Krishna. And the message is the chanting of the holy name takes you there. Get attached. And you'll be taken there. You don't have to do it on your own. I mean, you may have to make some effort, and that's get attached to the holy name. And you'll be that's where the holy name will take you. And that's the fruit of the Atmaramas. They're actually self-satisfied. And even liberated souls, what to speak of conditioned souls, are attracted in that way. There's too much to say, and not enough time. Okay, this is a nice painting, and it's Sanatana Goswami with a straw in his teeth, clasping the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he's asking Mahaprabhu's questions. And Mahaprabhu, in the course of their discussion, explains this Atmarama verse. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, came to give the Yuga Dharma, chanting of the holy name. And so the Atmarama verse is a very important verse for any follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand. So he's instructing Sanatana Goswami. With the exception of devotional service, all methods of self-realization are like the nipples on the neck of a goat. Nipples on the neck of a goat don't produce milk. Well, it may look like milk bags. Here's nipples on the neck of a goat. Therefore, an intelligent person adopts only devotional service, giving up all other processes of self-realization. I'm going to skip a bunch. There's a nice story written in New York Times where people that practice yoga, not just for physical fitness, but for spiritual journey, but the spiritual journey without Krishna doesn't take you where you want to go. Another fellow, this is photographed from that article. So, meditation is nice, but it's not complete. In absorption, somehow, what we're gathered together during this festival to do is somehow assisting one another, hearing from others, chanting together, kirtan together, japa together, become attached to Krishna. And when one becomes attached to Krishna, then all those activities, starting with that chanting, the reading and dancing, and all the activities of bhakti flow from this one activity done nicely. There's Sutta Goswami again. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of God and Sri Krishna, I quoted this verse. Causeless knowledge and detachment from the world arise. Vidyavadhu jivanam. It is the life of the young bride of transcendental knowledge. And I've only done number 4. I better hurry up. Here's number 5. Ananda. Just see, we just went right through the Nishtha stage and the Bhava stage, and we're already at the ecstasy stage. Ananda. Ambodhi. Vardhanam. So the Bhava stage, this 5th excellence, is waves of spiritual emotion. So may you reach that stage someday in your devotional life. But it's part of the fruit of doing the other parts nicely. Pavamaha, Davagni, Nirvapanam, etc. In this stage, ecstasies have not yet fully matured. That is to say, the prema stage isn't achieved yet. At the bhava stage, it's yet. And it will soon, hopefully, transform into prema. Ambodhi means ocean, and then the Ananda, Ambodhi is an ocean of Ananda, and Radharani is Ananda Chinmaya Rasa. It's another name of the potency of Radha. She gives Ananda. She is Ananda. And we'll hear tomorrow morning. I promise you, stick around. We'll hear tomorrow morning the meaning of Hare. It's Radharani. It's a very nice explanation. This spiritual potency of Krishna has its material counterpart. We already heard the power of illusion, but then there's the spiritual counterpart, the Ananda portion of Krishna's internal energy. And that's Srimati Radharani. This Yogamaya deity is found in the Rasalila area of Vrindavan. And a closer up picture of that same deity of Yogamaya. I'm not feeling satisfied because I have to go so fast. What to do? Maybe I should stop. I think I'll stop. This is Bhaktivinoda Thakur in one of his Sharanagati songs. He writes, that person is a true preceptor or a true father, a true mother, a true friend, also only if they teach one to always remember the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. This is very similar to the Kevala Astakam song that we'll hear at least twice during this weekend. Very, very nice glorification of the power of the holy name. And being a receiver, then one wants to give. The more one receives, the more one wants to give. The more you have the capacity to give, and the more one wants to give. The miserliness and I want subsides to I want to share with other people. So that's what we're doing with this festival of the holy name. Anandam Bodhivardhanam. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss. And I'm going to end with this. As much as the heart is relieved of unwanted habits, that's in the earlier stages, to that degree we become devoted to Krishna. As much as devotion is firmly fixed in our hearts, to that degree we acquire realized knowledge, vidyavado jivanam, and as much as the heart is illuminated by both devotion and knowledge, to that degree we taste spiritual happiness. In this way the ocean of bliss swells. There's two more excellences and another time, just because of time. And I'm feeling I'm giving too much, like information overload or something like that. Just rather than massaging the message, I'm just sharing, in my way at least, the happiness of scriptural reference after scriptural reference, and the building, the sequence of all the scriptures lead us to the same place. And our activities together are meant to do the same thing. We're supposed to end at 8 o'clock, and it's 20 minutes to 8. I think I'm going to pause and see if there's some discussion. Well, that was quick.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, during your Sunday Feast lecture class, you were talking about upadhis and how we gotta get rid of those to eventually purify ourselves. And I think you had mentioned that if you want to dance with Krishna, obviously we have to be pure enough to do that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time we hear, like in the case of Ajamila, even if you say the holy name just once, that's enough to make one eligible to enter Vaikuntha. So,
well, it makes one to be eligible to become free from sinful reactions. Namabhas makes one eligible to become free from sinful reactions.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess...
That's a big distinction.
Yeah. So I guess I just understood that wrong then, because it's kind of hard to wrap my head around how...
Yeah, don't go there.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Abbas, not Shuddha, yet. Keep doing Abbas while trying to get to Shuddha, and then bell rings.
Thank you.
Someone else. Yes, Mukunda, right behind you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. You highlighted a point early on about how we should not chant with the intention of achieving the secondary or the side effects.
Yes, that's
One
right.
example is like the relinquishing, destroying fear. Yes. And I really like that point. And at the same time, I was wondering if someone does chant with the intention of achieving these secondary things and
like Ajamila.
Yeah.
Or anyone.
I was also thinking, just like from a preaching perspective, we often say chant and you'll get peaceful, you'll achieve peace or whatever.
Chant to be happy.
Yeah, chant and be happy. So by chanting with the intention of achieving the secondary effects, can one still achieve the primary?
Yes, gradually. But the gradually can be hastened by recalibrating the focus. So, in mixed, in Abbas chanting, I do something to get something. In Shuddha chanting, I don't do something to get something. So if I do something to get something, there's purification. If that something is the chanting of the holy name or any other expression of devotional service, then purification is taking place. And, gradually. And depending upon the degree of the primary, then one gets the primary. And then one gets towards the primary even when there's a mix. Abbas chanting can elevate one. Awaken, two things, clear and awaken. So what such a person was greatly benefited by sadhu sangha. I mean, essentially what we just did, because we're all chanting. We wouldn't be here if we weren't already chanting. So we're in that stage of already chanting. And the intention, at least my intention of participating with all of you is, I've already mentioned, help us get just very focused on our attachment to Krishna more. And that means that, the other becomes less. The secondary becomes secondary. It doesn't like run parallel, just secondary. Until eventually it's diminished. So that's sadhana. Exactly as this description is going from anartha nivritti to nishtha to bhava, or ruchi bhava, asakti ruchi bhava. So there's steps. The lower steps can lead to the higher steps with good association. Anyone else? Oh. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In Excellence number 2, it was stated that chanting of the holy name not only temporarily pacifies the mind, but it extinguishes the root cause.
Yeah,
And
that was even starting with the first one. But it specifically mentions overcoming the influence of the modes of nature. It's not like snap your fingers and you're beyond the modes of nature. But the power is there. Now, go ahead.
Yeah, so chanting does this far greater than other spiritual practices.
Yes, exactly.
So sometimes when I chant, it is very temporary, where like the feeling of peacefulness or connectedness to Krishna is just during the chanting period, and after that, my mind takes over again. So my question was, what to do in my
Why
chanting?
and what to do.
Yeah.
That's the standard. Why and what to do. We're conditioned. We're not purified yet. What to do is continue with the process. And sadhu sangha. You continue with the process in association of sadhus who will give you support and their encouragement to go further and so forth and so on. So reading, reading, worshiping, praying, hearing, sadhu sangha. And then, with a desire, just like you expressed, becomes stronger. Not just once in a blue moon, I feel connected. But back to the question that Mukunda asked. The primary should be primary. And to the degree that it's primary, the secondary will follow. We don't chase after the secondary, we chase after the primary. Or try to take shelter. And that's false ego diminishes. The mode of passion diminishes. So that's like, we're used to our dear friend false ego and the mode of passion. Fruitive work, doing something to get something. And we're very familiar with that territory. So purification to go beyond those tendencies. Sadhu Sangha. Bhajana Kriya. Anartha Nivritti. Stay with it. And then repeat and repeat. An instruction I really like in that Sanatana Shiksha section of where Lord Chaitanya is instructing Sanatana Goswami. He speaks about the importance of sadhu sangha. He gives scriptural references, and then he describes higher stages that result from sadhu sangha, and then he describes the topmost stages of bhakti, and then says it again. Even in the topmost stages of bhakti, sadhu sangha is imperative. Hint, it's really important. So make it a priority. All the way in the back, someone want to take the microphone? And I want to see some hands on the ladies' side next.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So we talked about the Anartha Nivritti for the first 4 excellences.
First 3, yes.
First 3. So question on during the phase of Anartha Nivritti, the reversals happen for purification.
What happens?
Reversals.
Reversals happen?
Yeah. For the sake of purification. So sometimes you get reversals, sometimes you get hardships in life, so that you learn something out of it and you get more purified. So I was having a thought like, is it the intensity of the reversals have anything, or the prarabdha karma has anything on the reversals, the intensity of reversals, or?
Oh, your question is quite confusing, because you're a little confused.
Yeah.
So let's go back about 5 giant steps. According to what the first question that was asked, this young devotee was asking this question about even once, that's speaking about abhas, bhakti or namabhas. Abhas bhakti or namabhas has the power to eliminate prarabdha karma. So that's a given. You, when you experience some hardship or something, you're using reversals, some misfortune, whatever, it's not prarabdha karma.
Okay.
I'm pausing because I want it to sink in, because the premise of your question doesn't include that. It's mixing. So what is it if it's not prarabdha karma? It's pure. As you use the word purification, it's an opportunity that Krishna is giving you and me and all of us, the opportunity where our affinity for being enjoyers of the temporary has a roadblock. And the roadblock may come in the form, may not, but it may come in the form of some hardship or some kind of an obstacle. That roadblocks are an obstacle. So we have to figure it out. And, so how are you gonna respond to it? It's a Krishna opportunity being sent to you. It's not prarabdha karma. You turn your attention to Krishna. And even if you don't understand what's the signal that Krishna wants you to get, even if you don't understand that, that's okay. You just stay fixed on who you really are, as opposed to, I want to wiggle out of this difficulty and make it nice instead of difficult. Your intelligence still has to operate, but the higher intelligence we heard is becoming attached to Krishna. That's vidya vadhu jivanam. So then you go back to chanting nicely. Got it?
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. You want to just put your hand up and keep it up? I don't see any ladies' hands up yet. There's one. Okay. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maybe this is related to Mukunda's question. I was thinking about what is my intention for this weekend. And so I was thinking about these excellences, so they are attractive. So would I want to have an intention for excellence number 5 or 4, which seems to be
very elevated.
Right.
Congratulations.
But it may not be perhaps practical in my stage.
Well, it might not be, yeah. So
Pardon?
It might not be. I'm agreeing with you.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have, you can go towards that from where you are today to where you'll be at the end of the week, or end of the weekend.
Okay.
How's that?
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Way in the back.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
You got a microphone. Good.
My question pertains to this excerpt on the screen at the moment.
I can't hear. He's going to fix the amplifier. Try again.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, try speak.
My question is regarding this particular section that's on the screen at the moment.
Could you understand? This one that's on the screen? You had a question about what's on the screen. Technology is great when it works.
Hare Krishna.
No, boy, that's good. It works.
So this first part of this section says, as much as the heart is relieved of the unwanted habits, to that degree we become devoted. And I was thinking that I certainly had a little bit of that experience early on in my Krishna consciousness, where certain habits were easier to let go of, and it strengthened my resolve towards Krishna conscious practices. But as time is progressing, there are these strongly rooted habits, and I was thinking I could do, if only I had some devotion, then perhaps it would help me let go of those habits. So I'm stuck in that rut. So is this like a progression in the section?
The potential is, but it's not mechanical. Bhakti is not a vending machine. Bhakti is devotion. So is it possible? Yes. Is it mechanical? No. Is it progressive? Yes. But it's not mechanical. So now the next question is why and what to do. Now, why was it before so easy and now it's not so easy? And it can be a combination of reasons. One, there's certain things I could easily let go of. And there's some things that I'm really attached to. The easily let go of ones, they're gone. The ones that I'm attached to, I'm holding on to very tightly. I mean, you have children, so the child may have something in their hand, and you reach out and say, "Can I have what's in your hand?" If they're attached to it, you're not going to have them freely give it to you. Right? I mean, if there's something they're attached to, they're not going to just hand it over. Even if it's detrimental, they're not going to hand it over. And then you're a mother and you're going to have to figure out what to do next. So we're like that. We're little children, like little jivas, who there's some things we're particularly attached to. And then they become, as you say, ingrained, strongly attached. And we got our little assortment of strongly attached attachments. Then there are other variables. One of the other variables is the sine curve of bhakti. It goes up and down. It's an unsteady bhakti like that. And then we become complacent. Because, this is another factor at play. The suffering I was experiencing before, it's not as acute anymore. And so my bhakti has slackened a bit. Because my suffering isn't as acute as it was before. Or the light is not as on and as bright as it was before. Etc. And there's other variables. There's different causes. That's on the why, then what to do. You've heard me say this so far this weekend at least 3 times, so here we do it the 4th time. Pause, as you're doing right now and asking the question. You pause means you go into a mode of goodness space and you're introspecting and looking at, gosh, here's the reality. And I'm so clear about it, I'm willing to say it publicly. It's embarrassing, but it's just true. I mean, it's not like you're the only one that has that experience. You're speaking on behalf of many others. So you go into a reflective space. And then you ask the question, what's it all about anyways? What's my mission in life? Sometimes Prabhupada would speak, this is it. How many lifetimes have you been engaged in devotional service and came back again and then took such and such birth and now you're doing it again and now you're doing it again and now you're doing it again. And now you're doing it again. So why keep doing it again and again, birth and death? What's my mission? The mission is not just break the cycle of birth and death, but the higher mission is so that you hit the reset button in that pause space. Now, what are some of the things that are going to give me the strength? What's the horse that's going to pull the cart for you? And your motherhood is one of them, and reading with your sons is one of those things. It's good for you. So you do that. You do those things that give you strength. And from that strength, you borrow from the strength over here and apply it to that place that's weak over there. But you know what your mission is. Become attached to Krishna. And then this message. And you keep doing it. You keep go through that introspection, reflection, re-evaluation. What are some things that I can do that can give me strength, knowing that strength will enable me to let go of things that are unwholesome, that I'm attached to. And don't be complacent in the bhakti principles of your life. Not to say that you are, but make sure that you're not complacent. Your horse is in good shape, and the horse is pulling the cart. There's these secondary things. It's the same discussion with Mukunda's question. That's progress. And especially, of all the forms of bhakti, is the holy name. That's what we're doing. Isn't it nice? Your prayer has been answered. One more from the ladies' side, please. I see right next to you.
Maharaj, I have 2 questions. I was wondering, what is the highest achievement of a Buddhist?
Nirvana.
So, is that equivalent to Brahman realization?
What?
Is it equivalent to Brahman realization?
No. It's no Brahman. It's just nothing. Void. Nothingness. Yummy. That's it. Nirvana.
So my second question is, at least
In
from...
Brahman, there's something. In void, there's nothing. Go ahead.
My second question is, at least by looking at the Buddhist monks, we just get the feeling that they're very peaceful.
Yeah.
So they're doing something.
Yeah.
So some form of mind control or something.
Yeah.
So do we as devotees, do we need to practice any form of mind control to chant better?
Yeah.
Or is it embedded in the practices of bhakti?
Well, yeah, but it's intrinsic, and you must do it. Or say the opposite. If you don't do it, you're not performing bhakti properly. The mind must be absorbed. You'll hear it tomorrow morning. You coming tomorrow morning? No. I'll give you a sneak preview then. Dhyana Chandra Goswami wrote some writings on chanting. Dhyana Chandra Goswami was a disciple of Gopal Guru Goswami, who was a disciple of Akreshwara Pandit, who was a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's in disciplic line, and he wrote teachings about chanting. And one of those teachings we'll hear tomorrow morning, we'll hear on your behalf. The mind becomes one with the mantra becomes one with the mind. That's part of his teaching. So yes, the mindfulness in relation to an object, but the object is not nothingness. The object is not formlessness or Brahmajyoti, light. It's the name. So the same principle in 3 different applications. Nothingness, light, and the name, or the form and qualities and pastimes. Somethingness. Okay? Mindfulness is appropriate. This is essential. It's chapter 6. Bhagavad Gita. Same. It's 8 o'clock. It's 4 minutes after 8 o'clock. And you know what it is time for, right? Pizza. Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah.